Friends and viewers, good day. In Memoriam by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Now, let's discuss poetry. This Memoriam is written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. It is one of the greatest poems of the Victorian age. This poem is also known as In Memoriam, A-H-H. Arthur Henry Allen. It is an elegy for his Cambridge friend, Arthur Henry Allen, who died at the age of 22 years in Vienna in 1833. Tennyson wrote this poem in his memory. He first published the poem in his memory. Tennyson first published the poem anonymously in 1850. It is nearly 100 pages long. The poem has 133 cantos, and each stanza contains 4 lines. The rhyme scheme is A-B-B-A. So, Memoriam stanza due to the melancholy effect. The poem is divided into 3 main parts. The first is the prologue, the second the poem, and the third is epilogue. So let me tell you about the author Alfred Lord Tennyson. Alfred Lord Tennyson was an English poet. He was the poet laureate during much of Queen Victoria's reign. His work not only explored the relationship between science and religion, but the importance of perseverance and remaining optimistic in front of despair. 2 of his best-known poems are In Memoriam, A.H.H. and The Charge of the Light Brigade. Tennyson also held high standing in Victorian society, having the title of First Baron Tennyson of Aldred and Freshwater. Some of his other most famous works include The Lady of Shalott, Ulysses, and Idylls of a King. Themes of this Memoriam is this poem. In Memoriam, A.H.H. is a long and complex poem. It explores a wide range of themes. Some of the most important themes which include in these poems are the meaning of the life, secondly, mystery of death, thirdly, grief as a form of love, fourthly, doubt strengthens religious faith, fifth, grief and loss, sixth, faith and doubt, seventh, the relationship between the individual and the universe. So the meaning of life, the poem explores the meaning of life. Tennyson asks question about the purpose of existence, why we exist, and he searched for answer in nature, in history, and is in his own faith. Mystery of death. Let us talk about mystery of death. After his friend Hallam's death at a young age, the speaker asks 2 significant questions about the mystery of death. Is there life after death for humans? And can the living still love and communicate with the dead? The speaker believed death ends the life of Hallam's physical body, but not his soul, personality, or memoirs, or the memories. Grief as a form of love. The speaker says in Canto 1 that without love there would be no grief. Love is essential to grief. His deep sorrow at Hallam's death proves his deep love for his friend in life. The speaker grieves often takes the form of singing and music, both expression of praise and deep emotion. Doubt strengthens religious. Here we see that doubt also strengthens the religious beliefs in this poem. So we had this question of existence, this question of doubt, and many more questions in this poem. So let us see that grief as a form of love. The speaker says, as I told you, about grief. Doubt, religious faith, formerly a steadfast but perhaps somewhat wrought believer in Christian religion. The speaker tell us about the doubt when he feels about the after what happened after our death, and the religious faith. He can't prove his beliefs are true. He has no evidence of an afterlife where Hallam's soul will live in eternity. Grief and loss. The poem is a meditation on the death of Tennyson's friend Arthur Hallam. Tennyson's grief is raw and honest, and he does not shy away from expressing his sorrow. The poem offers comfort to those who have lost loved ones, and it shows that grief is a normal and healthy response to love. Faith and doubt. The poem also explored the theme of faith, doubt. Tennyson is explore how one have a faith and how from the faith arise a doubt. The relationship between the individual and the universe. The poem explores the relationship between the individual and the universe. Tennyson contemplates the place of humanity in the cosmos as he wonders how to find meaning in the vast and indifferent universe. There are just some of the terms exploded in Memoriam, AHH. The poem is a complex and profound work of art, and it continues to offer insight into the human condition. So let us see about the summary of this poem. The poem opens addressing Jesus, discussing how God made both life and death. He uses the image of Jesus with his foot on a skull to show him as a conqueror of death. Humanity is humbled in the presence of God. As our systems are finite, we are unable to seize God's plan. Tennyson asked for God's forgiveness for the nature of his word. As he fluctuates between faith, doubt, between the poem, he says he has a wild and wandering words. As he tries to make sense of the death of his friend, he prays for wisdom and regrets his wasted youth. The poet describes how he grieved. He once believed that man would slowly rise from death into eternal state. He once believed in God, but in his grief he wishes he could fast forward through time to skip the grieving period. Tennyson addresses a yew tree in a graveyard. He imagines that the roots are wrapped around a body buried beneath this tree. The season and the nature move in their patterns, beating out the little lives of man. Here they question the existence of God and afterlife. He sometimes believes he is sinning by writing of his grief. He argues that even though the loss of loved one is common to human race, it doesn't make him less bitter, but more so knowing that every day someone else's heart is breaking. He imagined families who are still waiting for their dead family's members, like a mother who waits for her son who has drowned at sea. Arthur's body was returned to England from Italy by ship. He spent a lot of time in imagining his friend, his death friend, how his mother waits for the body of his dead son. Alfred Lord Tennyson's Memoriam is, I think, one of the best poem I've ever seen. So, thus, in the Memoriam by Alfred Lord Tennyson was specifically composed as the heartfelt lament for the untimely passing of his dear friend Arthur Henry Hallam. The poem is undeniably an elegy intending to evoke a prevailing sense of mourning. However, since critics believe that the elegic quality of the poem is overshadowed by religious, scientific and philosophical aspect. It is also a reflection of the intellectual and cultural climates of the Victorian age, which was marked by both scientific advancement and so Arthur Body was returned to England from Italy by ship. He spends a lot of time addressing and describing the ship that brought his friend's body by winter. Tennyson's woe is causing wild unrest in him. He confronts this change in Canto 16, wondering that sorrow could cause him to feel both wild and calm. Only the Bible comforts him. As he questions the meaning of death and life, he concludes that life have souls, allowing them to live on after death, and that their purpose on earth is to gain knowledge. As the author was a good and intelligent man, he believed that author's soul must be alive somewhere. He imagined meeting with him again. The epilogue finds Tennyson at his sister's wedding while he was lost a close friend. He has gained a brother-in-law, Arthur Hallam, and Tennyson became friends in 1829 at Cambridge. Hallam met Tennyson's sister Emily, and the two were soon engaged. Hallam also wrote poetry, and he and Tennyson planned to one day publish a collection together. He died of a brain hemorrhage while visiting Vienna with his father at the age of 22. Emily would later marry and name her first son after Hallam. Queen Victoria met with Tennyson in 1833 and tell him the poem had been a comfort to her following the death of her husband, Prince Albert. So this is the poem, beautiful poem written by Alfred Lord Tennyson in Memoriam. Thank you very much. I hope you will like and subscribe this channel. Thank you.